Welcome back to your Racer X Supercross show previewing 2016 Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship. This is episode 2. We're talking about 5 specific riders on this show: Chad Reed, James Stewart, and a couple of rookies. So in the YouTube comments section, I don't want to see anyone write, "Oh, Racer X forgot about Davey Millsaps. They don't even think he could win." He'll be covered in another episode. Today we're talking Chad Reed, James Stewart. I'm Jason Weigandt, Steve Matthes, Jason Thomas with us on set. We'll have David Pingree in here in a little bit. And here's the key. Every year, Steve, we start this show saying you cannot count out Chad Reed and James Stewart. They are veterans. They are proven champions. This year I'm having a tough time even counting them in.
I'll be honest. I've never been more worried for these two.
That's legit.
Yeah.
We don't even know if Reed is racing Anaheim 1. Does he have something together?
I think he'll be there.
Okay.
I think Chad Reed will be there. He'll be on a Yamaha. I think Shane Drew will be his mechanic. He'll have KYB Air Forks wearing shift gear with a monster helmet.
That's a lot of information for a situation we don't know anything about.
Well, we have somebody here who might know.
Well, yeah, if we could just find someone on set who might have intel and would know Chad Reed, like was friends with him for life. JT?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, how would I know?
You're like his best friend.
Oh.
What's he doing?
I have no idea.
You're his guy.
You actually filled me in on things I didn't know.
Come on.
Just now.
You really don't know.
I don't know. I think he'll be at Anaheim 1 on the
Okay.
Yamaha. That's
He
about
will
as
race.
far as I think we
All
can get
three
at
of
this
us
point.
think he'll be there.
He's proven stubborn enough in the past. Chad Reed will race if he wants to race.
He won a race last year.
Well, the performance is going to be the question. Yeah, he did win a race last year. He was good. But JT, with this late start, is he going to be ready?
I think he will be okay because the key components are in place. The bike, the technicians, the suspension, all the things that are going to lead to success on the racetrack are there. I just think there's a lot of stress behind the scenes of not knowing where money's coming from, trying to get all the outside pieces in place. That's probably causing him a lot of late nights, but I think his on-the-track stuff will be fine.
Okay, and then the other guy we got to talk about here is James Stewart, who will turn 30 by the time we race at Anaheim 1. And we're just going to show you how difficult this thing is at age 30. Now, Reed has proven that age is maybe only a number in Supercross, but as you can see from the graphic here, there are only 4 riders in the history of Supercross that have won main events past the age of 30. Stewart will try to be the 5th this year. Now, when we did the show last year, we had just found out that day that Stewart was going to be suspended, and we all thought, oh, look out. When he's back in 2016, he's going to be a lean, mean fighting machine. Cujo, I think you called it.
Raining yellow.
It hasn't looked that way so far since he's been back.
I'm a big James Stewart fan. We know this. He does things on a motorcycle that no one else can ever do. He's an amazing rider. I've never been more worried for him. Like Chad Reed this year. Look, we saw him come out Monster Energy Cup. His practice times, not so great. He looks like he's not quite in shape yet. Crashes out of the first main event. All right? We go to Lille, France. I was there. Again, okay in practice, early main event crash. Took him a long time to jump like a 3-4 rhythm section. I'm worried, man. I'm worried, James. James, I'm really worried.
What's the situation here, JT? We thought he would be back with a house of fire. He did win straight rhythm, but that just proved that James Stewart could do whoops in his sleep, apparently. Lack of preparation didn't even matter there, but it hasn't been good beyond that.
No, and I really think he planned on getting a lot of preparation time in the November-December timeframe, which, the Alden Baker boot camp, all these things go on during that time. Obviously, the biggest wrench was thrown into this ankle injury in Lille. That's completely derailed that boot camp plan, if that was actually the plan. So from a situation where he could have salvaged this and been strong going into day 1, I don't know that that's going to happen now.
Okay, so they're both bouncing back from some significant adversity here. Stu with the year off. Reed, not even sure what his team situation is. Let's break this down a little further. Let's get analytical on the medical side. We'll send it to David Pingree in our second studio to talk about racing past the age of 30. Ping, take it away.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, you've got a couple things going for you and against you when you get to be this age. There's guys who've won past 30, as that list showed that we saw earlier. But even though I was done before I hit 30, there's some things that start to happen. You start to consider the consequences a little bit more. That's what got me out of racing. I was rolling off coming into the first turn, really thinking about jump sections before I do them. So you start to get a little bit smarter weighing that risk versus reward. We've seen James Stewart at Paris this year hesitate a little bit through some rhythm sections. That's not James Stewartish. So curious to see where that goes as we get into the season. And the other part is physically, you've got to be on your game with your training. You can still be an elite athlete at that age. There's no question about it. Males don't really peak until late 20s, early 30s physically, but you've got to be committed to the program. And right now, to be honest with you, both those guys look like they're carrying a little bit of holiday weight. So we'll see what happens come January. Here's what we know. This is the problem. Right now, Chad Reed, where's he going to be racing? No idea. No idea where that blue bike's going to wind up. And James Stewart, how's that ankle? Again, no idea. He could be there, he could be in a lot of pain. So we're going to have to see what happens. These two are going to milk this career for all it's worth, and I'm looking forward to seeing those guys race at Anaheim. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Ping. That's good analysis here. And here's an additional thing these riders are up against beyond Father Time. It's competition. Here's a list of top-level 450 factory riders who have entered the class since Stu and Reed have already been there. It's basically a main event's worth. And in the case of some names like Ivan Tedesco and Grant Langston, they came in as rookies. They went all the way through their career and retired, and Reed and Stu are still there. So we got a whole new crop this year, Steve. 3 more rookies coming in, and they're all trying to jam their way onto the podium. Now we got Christophe Pourcel, finally. Got him on a 450 in Supercross. And Marvin Musquin coming off a title last year. Justin Bogle a title the previous year as 250 riders. So that's 3 more big names, but we don't really know where to slot them in.
Yeah, I think when you look at these 3 rookies compared to last year's 4 rookies, we had Jason Anderson, Cole Seeley, Blake Baggett, and Dean Wilson coming in. And I think compared to those guys, these 3 have a lot more questions. What are they going to do? They're all older. Marvin Musquin is coming in with a wrist injury that I think is going to hold him up. Now, he's got the most 450 experience out of these guys in the Supercross track, and he's showed some great results. So I look for Marvin, maybe to be slow at the start, but then kind of pick it up a little bit. I like his chances to be the best one out of these 3. Pourcel, haven't seen him race ever, 17 race Supercross series, and is he going to have the week in, week out intensity on the bike? Certainly he was much better at Lille from what I saw than what I've seen in years past. So Christophe Pourcel, though, a lot of question marks with him. And of course the final guy that we're talking about is Justin Bogle. Now he was looking for a full-time factory ride, wasn't able to get it. So he got on the Honda, he's on a factory Honda this year. He's got a low salary, big bonus program. He's trying to prove himself because in 2017, everybody's contracts are up.
Yeah, that's what Bogle was up against. There just weren't openings. So Geico wasn't going to have a 450 team. They rolled one in just to help their guy out and maybe get him a ride. So he's betting on himself. So that means these 3 guys, they kind of need to perform. Let's ask JT and Ping, what do you guys think about this? One of the things that I think is key here is that there's multi-year contracts for Pourcel and Musquin. They get the typical rookie learning year, but Bogle does not. So what do you think first, JT? Out of these 3, do you have a favorite who will be the best in the rankings by the end?
I like Marvin, provided he's 100% coming in. I think he's in a good spot. We saw just a dominating performance from him in the 250 last year. I like the program he's on, both with KTM. I think that bike has come a long way, as we saw from Ryan Dungey last year. And I also believe in the Alden Baker program. He'll be in his 2nd full year of that program. So I expect big things from him. I have a couple questions about him transitioning. He was a little off in the whoops, I thought, a little bit last year, and that's a big part of 450 racing is being fast in the whoops. So we'll see. Pourcel is a big question mark. We've never really seen him, as Steve alluded to, do a 17 race series, and that's a big ask. I don't think guys really understand how tough that is to go 4 or 5 months straight. So we'll see. I think he will be the best Christophe Pourcel we've seen in years. And then Justin Bogle, I'm not sure. I think he's in that Dean Wilson class where if he can stay healthy, if he can gain some momentum, he will be good. I don't expect him to run up front right away. I think there will be a learning curve with him where Marvin and Pourcel have been around. You know, they're not kids. They're not super young. So I think they're going to be a little bit better earlier than Bogle will.
What you got, Ping?
Yeah, I agree with what Jason's saying. You know, you've got a couple of guys who are world championship riders. They're in their late 20s, mid to late 20s, where Bogle's still a kid by all means. He really is doesn't have a lot of years under his belt. So Marvin looks the best on paper. That injury is the big thing hanging over him and really making it be a question right now. But I think if you look at all 3 of those guys, he's the one probably most likely to put up some good results. I really like watching Pourcel though, and I think his style lends itself to a 450. He's very technical, and he's got that JMB vibe a little bit. So if he can get back to just having the confidence that he did when he rode for Pro Circuit, I think you're going to see some great stuff out of him. And I'm really anxious to see how he comes along. He's on the same bike, essentially, that Marvin's racing, so he's got great equipment. And the training, we'll see. He's never been known to be an animal off the bike, but you know, it's a new season. I think he's got a lot to prove, so I'm anxious to see how that goes.
Yeah, we talked about James Stewart having 16 months off. It has been 5 years since Christophe Pourcel has raced Supercross really at all in the United States. So this is a huge question mark. Folks, we want to remind you that there are 2 new venues this year in Supercross. First, we got Foxborough, Massachusetts having an event, and also we'll have a live show coming your way from St. Louis. So 2 live shows on the regular Fox Sports Network. They tried that last year from the New Jersey round. It went well. So St. Louis at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It's a day race. And the Foxborough, Massachusetts race outside of Boston at 4 p.m. Eastern. So 2 day races on the calendar this year. Cool to see Foxborough in, and they've also added Toronto back to the schedule this year. So go to supercrosslive.com for all your information. This was episode 2. You want to celebrate the 2? These are veteran guys. They like the vets.
Go Chad.
Hopefully you too.